Regards from Kharkiv, eastern Ukraine. You know that the war in our country is already going through several months. However, what you might not know is that this particular city is being under constant shelling and missile attacks since the first day of the war. This is the most badly destroyed large city in Ukraine, and the building behind me is the local governor's office, which received a huge terrible missile strike at the very first days of the war. So in this particular vlog, if it's possible to tell so, I'm going to take you through central part of Kharkiv, show the level of destruction which is happening here, and as a good tradition on my vlog, share a little bit of the history of Ukraine and this amazing city. We are standing on the central square of Kharkiv, which is considered to be one of the biggest public squares in the entire Europe. Just take a look at the scale of these imposing buildings going back to the early Soviet era. For example, this one, but that one on the skyline is the one which was built at the early 20th century, being one of the first so-called skyscrapers of back then a Soviet Union. Here on the left we've got another imposing structure of local Karazin University. Not many people know, but Kharkiv used to serve as the first capital of Ukrainian Soviet Republic. So basically, after the collapse of Russian Empire in the early 20s of the 20th century, Bolsheviks took under control most of the territory of modern Ukraine and made Kharkiv their capital. That's why, in order to give it kind of like a capital feeling, those imposing structures were erected here. All of this is really huge, as you can see, reminding us of something what is actually in Kiev. But there are much worse things that to keep in mind. Currently there is war happening in Ukraine and soldiers are defending our land. I would like to also remind you that the war in Ukraine is not only about our country, but guys, it's also about the entire free world. And Ukraine is effectively now serving as the shield of the true liberty and democracy. The price for this freedom is very high, and here you can see just one of the scars of war. We are also joined by two cool guys on this trip. Catalin from Romania, and Hrvoje from Croatia, with whom we actually spent some time already. It is still hard to process that we are actually living in the war, and like just look at this, right? It's crazy. Like, what do you feel when you see this?
Honestly, like I'm freaking out. Like, honestly, this is the first time in my life in which I'm like so close to something like this, and it's like a pressure. It's something in the air. It's something around, you know, that tells you have to be cautious, you have to be respectful, you have to. It's really a feeling that I've never experienced in my life before.
How come? How did it be possible? You are the most famous travel blogger in Romania, by the way, subscribe.
Yes.
And you've been to some other conflict areas around the world.
Yes.
How would you compare like this, what you see now, with other places you've been to?
Okay, here is very actual. That's the thing, you know, like the places that I've been to, there were places, of course, they were dangerous and whatever, but here there is tons of suffering happening now, and you feel it. You see the streets are empty. It's a very eerie feeling. It's completely different. Like, people have to. You're doing a very good job by showcasing this, because from outside, okay, it's horrible, but you need to be here to actually understand. Like, you see all the businesses closed, all these buildings abandoned, and you think about people had their livelihoods here, people had their lives here, and now from one day to another they had to like change and quit on everything. You know, it's really painful. Like, the feeling I don't even have the guts or the energy to start filming, to be honest. You know, it's like the most emotional combined with a bit of pressure, a bit of fear. So yeah, it's insane.
At the same time, I'm super grateful that you come, because now, once the most of the world is having this war fatigue, the media fatigue, we are the media guys who has to continue pushing and reminding that there are cities like Kharkiv that are suffering even now. Let's carry on. The very destruction of this public administration building is huge, and this is one of the tactics, right? During the war, you simply hit governmental buildings because these are the command centers. Around 30 people died when the attack happened here, and I just met one of my subscribers actually. He was very surprised to see me on the street, and he told Orest, you know, I was volunteering there during the first days of the war, and in this very day when it happened, I was out. During the Soviet time, Kharkiv grew very quickly. It was one of the largest industrial powerhouses of the Soviet Union, and just before the war, it used to be the second largest city in Ukraine with a population of around 1.5 million people, making it a rather large metropolis. There are many towers, or there used to be, and here is very tragic view what happens to the building when it gets shelled. It looks like that it was like a wave of which was coming from that side where is the administration being done. Also, the buildings nearby are heavily damaged as well, which just shows us the destructive result of the war. So basically the entire neighborhood is absolutely unlivable over here. This one you've seen, then another building which is not possible to enter. Obviously we're not gonna do this, and yeah, let's carry on. Let's see what happens on the another quarters of central Kharkiv. My friend just asked, isn't it dangerous to walk on the streets? Like, meaning is there some fire happening or what? But the question was regarding the street violence.
Street violence, yeah, because it feels like being here, you feel that, okay, maybe there's somebody at the corner, maybe somebody is going to do something. It's very mixed, you know, very mixed. So this is why I asked you.
I understand why such questions appear, because I myself travel to different conflict zones and dangerous areas around the world, but because of the large military presence in the area, who are in the constant search of spies and other people who might undermine the security in the area, it is actually safer than in most other places around. And for that reason you can freely walk. There are almost no people on the streets, and the biggest probably uncomfortable situation you can find yourself is being questioned, why are you filming? For that reason I've got this kind of pass which was given me by the Ministry of Defense and permitting to film and do the war reporting. For you guys, by the way. This building is the result of a direct missile hit. So basically you see it fell not on the roof, which is more likely usually, but it went kind of inside the building, opening it up completely. From here you can even see what was happening by the time of the hit inside the apartments. You can see some doors up there. Take a look. There is a chair, there is a staircase. What else we can see? Some wardrobe stuff, part of the AC, and so on. And what is the most surreal, that just next to it you have very lucky building of the bank, which is like surprisingly survived. This one is obviously gone, and then a little bit more damaged buildings on the right side. There on the wall it's written "Chas chuje nas." In translation to Ukrainian, this means "the time hears us." And definitely time cures the scars of war. The problem is how many suffering, how many lives will be the price of this. And you know, the saddest story here is that the history repeats itself more and more, over and over. Unfortunately, now we have to face it. So guys, now I would just want to show you the terrible impact of the explosion, what can happen. Take a look. So we walk in the street, building with the covered fence like windows, and you see like here the point, here, here, here. You might be thinking this is the bullets, yes, from the fight, but not really, because on that building the rocket landed, yes, and then it exploded all around for 100 meters. And now imagine on my place, God forbid, there are people, so some parts, some nails of the explosion come this direction, and you know, if this kind of goes like this, then the person is done. And that's the story of Kharkiv. The entire area of the city is actually covered with those explosion waves. So guys, this is the city center of a once prosperous parts of Kharkiv. Now it's completely deserted, nobody is around. This is badly destroyed, the building's up, some random taxis wandering around looking for customers. A few cars are going as well. Another building just next to it is also in ruins. One thing which impressed me the most is that how clean and tidy the area is. Look at those flowers, like this amazing, it's like clearly planted here during this season. To tell the truth, Kharkiv was one of the most maintained cities in Ukraine, and even now this place is at the edge of the war zone. City services are doing their best to continue functioning as the whole public organism, which is actually fascinating as for me. Unfortunately, most businesses had to close because there is simply not enough demand in the place, but we are fortunate to find a nice restaurant which is named Orest, and you are the owner, as I understand. Yeah,
no, I'm not. I'm just operating the place.
You're a manager.
Yeah.
So can you tell us like how does it like when did you resume your work after the initial start of the war?
Well, the place started to work properly approximately 2 months ago. Before
So after 2 months of war.
Yeah. So when all the situation gets a little bit more calm and more easier for us, we just start to operate, to help around to people who need.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we're just trying to run the business, help our guys.
So you help the local defenders here to feed them as well?
At the moment, it's a lot of offers in this case.
Yeah.
If we feel that we can help,
Yeah, of course.
Trying to do something from our side.
So since you are in a restaurant business, you probably understand how many other restaurants are open enough, because for a person who simply visit Kharkiv, it's not so easy to find a place to eat.
True, many places are closed. Most of the restaurants switched to delivery system. Basically, at the moment Kharkiv you can find lots of different food on delivery. At the moment we are just working here, thinking about to make a step for delivery as well. But
So you think to close?
No. Well,
To add delivery.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
What about the number of customers? Like, what is the difference? Like,
Huge one. Let's say before all this war, we were pretty busy on the daily basis. We have lots of staff, lots of people, even DJs and everything.
now people don't.
Now, very rare. Because like we can have per day 3-4 customers.
Oh wow. So you see guys, it's very important. One of the best ways to support Ukraine is actually to come here, and spend your money, leave it with the local people, local businesses. This is the way how you can support directly, doing what you're already doing, right? And supporting the economy as well. So stay with Ukraine, come here and support the local places.